Hello and welcome back to Health, Wellbeing and Lifestyle. For our first guest today we have Deb Stathis, who's a personal and professional success coach, and she's here today to talk to us about steps to success. Welcome, Deb.
Thank you. Thanks, Linda.
So you talk about going from trauma to opportunities.
Yes.
Can you tell us a bit more about that?
Absolutely. So trauma provides us with a unique position where we can actually create opportunities. And what we do there is we shift our focus to look at the lesson, what we've learned within that experience of trauma, challenge, adversity, stress as well. And then what we can do is we shift our focus to that lesson, what we've learned, and we then choose to use the knowledge that we have gained there to improve ourselves and our life. I actually call this a tragic opportunity. So the tragedy is the stress, challenge, emotions, pain, experience. The opportunity comes from how we choose to focus on the learning and improve ourselves and our life.
Oh, that sounds wonderful. Can you tell us a bit more then about from there going with some of those steps that you talk about?
Oh, absolutely. Creating, like I said, what I call a tragic opportunity is a two-step process. So we start off with personal assessment. So personal assessment is a review of ourself, our beliefs, our behaviours and our emotions. And the aim is to develop a deeper understanding into ourself and into our trauma and our challenges and the way we have interpreted them in order to then shift our perspective for the better and learn about ourselves. The next step is the action plan, which is key. So the action plan is then taking the knowledge that we gain in personal assessment and using that to improve ourselves, make better decisions and choices, and improve all areas of our life.
Okay, what would be an example of something, for instance, that comes up in daily life that you could say this is how I can look at it differently? Or
it actually comes up every single day. And I create tragic opportunities for myself all the time when I'm particularly getting very stressed out, perhaps with trying to juggle everything. I'm a mum of 2 young children, and it can be really hard sometimes to just get out of the door, and you've got 2 screaming children and you've got to get to a meeting on time, you've maybe forgotten your briefcase or whatever it is. And it's easy to think, oh God, nothing ever goes my way. Or you can flip and say, okay, this feeling right now, what is it doing? Is it giving me the opportunity to think about why I'm acting this way? What is it that is making me so frantic? Is it the sound of the children? Like for myself, I've been through a lot of trauma, so sometimes a lot of loud noises when my children get very frantic actually sparks a bit of the PTSD. So for me, I need to stop for a moment and take that opportunity to grow and say, they're children. This is not noise that is negative. This is positive noise. Actually, they're beautiful, fun children. If I run with this, I'll actually get out of the door quicker. So the opportunity is to get them on board, learn about why I'm getting frantic in that scenario, and actually improve the environment and get out the door happily instead of frantically.
How can we have, for the viewers, what could they do in their daily lives to create success from trauma, as you talk about?
What's really important is self-reflection and thinking about how and why we do things, and that's where the two-step process comes in. So when we're faced with a challenge, stress, trauma, taking that time to sit and reflect on why we made certain decisions and why we feel the way we do in certain situations enables us to gain incredible insight into ourselves and into how and why we do things. By doing so, we can identify what serves us and what doesn't. This then enables us to make better decisions for ourselves, for our life, to improve our relationships, because we understand where perhaps we don't have the most empowered perspective, or perhaps our perspective has been warped due to stress, trauma, our previous experiences, childhood, etc. So we can really use that knowledge to change every day of our life and every aspect of our life.
For our viewers out there, how would people apply this in their life? What would be the top tip that you would suggest to them?
The top tip is taking action. So we can do as much personal development and assessment as we like, and that's great. However, if we don't take action, if we don't change things that we do every single day, and actively work on ourselves and change our perspective, nothing will change in our life. So what it's really important to remember is that it doesn't really matter, for lack of a better way of saying it, what's happened in our childhood or what trauma and stress we've had. We actually can be empowered to change that and have a happy and fulfilled future by taking action to change how we behave every day and the way we view life by, using the knowledge that we gain by looking into ourselves.
Oh, thanks so much, Deb, for that.
Thank you.
That's wonderful. And for more information on Deb's status and steps to success, please go to our website, healthwellbeingandlifestyle.com.au. Now we'll go to break, and after the break we'll be back with more wonderful topics to share. Stay tuned. After the break, integrative health and wellness expert Dr Zara Celik is talking about overcoming depression. Welcome back, and now we have Dr Zara Celik, our integrative health and wellbeing expert, and today she's back talking to us about overcoming depression. So Dr Zara, we know that depression's a big thing with many of our viewers, I'm sure, experience it or know someone with it. Can you tell us a bit more about how to overcome it?
Yeah, so depression is comparison of our reality, our current situation, life or event that took place in our life. It's a comparison of that event or a memory or our sort of lifestyle or our personality and our achievements to either past or someone else's reality. So that whole comparison will create internal conflict, an internal conflict of energy inside the individual. So as we are comparing our life to either our past, and we want to be always there, or if we are comparing our reality to someone else's, there will be that shift of biochemistry happening inside. Normally when we talk about depression, us practitioners will go with the symptoms and then we do the diagnosis. But I like to know the real trigger. What is the real trigger? Is it the language that the individual is using and associating with day-to-day activities? Is it the language that individuals using to describe the current reality or the situation that they're in? Is that then really creating that internal turbulence and that internal vortex with the turbulence, and it really pulls them down? So I like our viewers to see what really is triggering that. When you say you are depressed or you know someone, pay attention to what actually they're talking about. I find particularly with this current situation globally, majority of the people that I know, and I'm sure you do too, people compare the reality of now to the past. So then they feel they are stuck. And they say, I am depressed because I'm not doing what I used to do. I'm depressed because I'm not going out to the restaurant and wearing my glamorous clothes. You know, language pattern, you can really see where it's coming from. So I like to see how people describe their depression. They say, I'm depressed. Well, what is really triggering that? So that is important. That's what we really need to pay attention. And as an individual ourselves, but also to those people they're saying, I am depressed, pay attention to what the trigger is. That is crucial. Then of course, when we say I'm depressed, the physiology shifts, right? The body shifts, the psychology shifts, the physiology is telling you something isn't quite right because you're creating that through the language pattern and you're automatically taking yourself to that state, to depressed state. And you want to be there, it's comfortable because you're getting some nice attention. And again, so find the trigger and use the language, then shift yourself out of that. You can do it. So anyone can really do that. Yes, the professionals, we do come in. I'm a mindset coach as well. Work with the psychologist, work with the coach, but really it comes down to the language that you use. Maybe you are seeing your professional for 45 minutes a week, right? But you are with yourself for the rest of the time. then how do you talk to yourself? How do you shift yourself out of that state of being? So that's what I would like people to pay attention and stop comparing themselves to other people and compare their current situation to their past. And that's the key to overcoming depression.
It's a huge topic, isn't it?
And it is
depression.
very common as well. People experience it, and as I said, it is creating that biochemical reaction. Then, the whole biochemistry shifting. Then there will be interruption to the gut flow, right? The gut function, rather. There will be also imbalance in the nervous system. Remember, I talked about our nervous system, how big role it plays, especially when we say I am depressed, I'm not happy, and this. It creates that imbalance in the autonomic nervous system. So the parasympathetic nervous system is down-regulated. The sympathetic nervous system is up-regulated. We're constantly running away from something. It's the fight and flight kicking in. So what does that do? When the parasympathetic is down, the gut functions down. And when the gut functions down, neurotransmitters responsible in the brain are also not at optimum level. The other thing will be the mindset. Right? When we are in the fight and flight, and I spoke about that in our last episode, the imminent mind kicks over. So we are focusing on the problem, and we're not objective, we're not creative, we're not authentic. And at that state, we are not thriving because we are focusing on the threat constantly and wiring our brain to focus on the threat rather than getting creative and objective to shift ourselves out of that state.
So what would your best advice be for our viewers before we go to the break today?
So I just want to talk about an individual actually, which I encountered and met quite recently. He was depressed due to the COVID-19 regulations. So he felt like his freedom was taken away. So as soon as you actually saw how he was thinking and went to the thinking process, it immediately shifted the thinking process, and it helped him to overcome and come out of that situation and then use it to his advantage. So it can be achieved, but it is all about the mindset and the individual and the commitment to self. So the advice will be to pay attention to your language and what you are doing with your mindset and your thinking process. Are you constantly comparing yourself to somebody else or your past and you want to stay there? So which feels comfortable? Because it is all up to you how you want to shift yourself and your life and what direction you want to go towards. Because if you choose and it is comfortable to be in that depressed state, then you will be in that state at all times. But if it doesn't feel comfortable and you want to actually snap out of it, then move towards that and take actions to move forward. Get a coach if you need to. See a psychologist, whatever works. Have a goal, and it is that goal that will get you closer to the outcome. But if you don't have any realistic outcome or any goal setting, then it is going to be challenging and it's going to be slower to get out of that depression state.
Thank you, Dr. Zara.
My pleasure.
And for more information on Dr. Zara Celik and overcoming depression, then please go to her webpage on our website, healthwellbeingandlifestyle.com.au. We'll go to break and be back after the break with more interviews. After the break, Yoga for Wellbeing instructor and author Pauline Rooney is talking about sleep deprivation and yoga, so stay tuned. Welcome back, and now we have Pauline Rooney back with us, our Yoga for Wellbeing instructor and author, and today she's talking about sleep deprivation. So Pauline, welcome back.
Thanks, Linda.
And how does sleep deprivation affect our well-being?
Linda, it's absolutely amazing. It's huge. And I don't think people understand it as what it is. Sometimes we toss and turn and we say, oh, we've had a bad night's sleep, didn't get a good sleep, etc., all those types of things, but not realising the effect that it actually does have on us. And I'm sure many of us, your viewers, have woken up in the morning and felt as though you haven't even had a night's sleep. And that can affect our work, so we're not switched on, so to speak. It can affect the thought process. It can affect our moods. It can affect our eating, because sometimes if we haven't had that good night's sleep, we feel a little grumpy, so we go to the comfort foods, and that does not help. We're better off to take charge of the night's sleep. And there's such things as, when we get into bed, saying to ourselves, I'm going to sleep comfortably all night, and program the mind to know that it is sleep time, instead of going to bed and saying, oh, I never sleep, I bet I don't sleep tonight. You're programming the thought process not to sleep. So when you hop into bed, there's a couple of things that I like to do. I like to pop my hands on my chest and just give a couple of thank yous for what I've done through the day. That's a really nice end of day. It can be anything you like. And if you do wake up in the night, don't lie there and arguing with yourself. Do something to really make you feel comfortable and want to go back to sleep. So you might do 7 rounds of beautiful breathing, and you really focus on the breath, nothing else. Focus on the breath. If you wanted to, you could visualize a lovely blue colour coming in and out of your nostrils. I always say you could just lie there and play. It's better than having an argument. And so you focus on your breathing. You might want to do a couple of little gentle exercises in the yoga. That's okay too. Lift your arm, raise your leg, bend your knees, those types of things. But breathing, turn your pillow over so you've got that lovely cool underneath you again. There's just so many ways in order to get your mind back on track that it is time to sleep. The other thing is, the moon can have an effect, Linda, and sometimes the moon will wake us, right? And therefore, if it is a full moon, we can take the time to go, isn't this a magic time? And really embrace that, in preference of, oh, the moon's full and I can't go to sleep. So stop the blame and take charge. And the breath, the posture, the pillow turning, all those types of things are massive. It really is a large problem. And the other thing, Linda, I'm not sure how many people are aware of the children that are not sleeping. And there's so much pressure on our children today. They've got to perform at school. They've got to be good at sport. Just the pressures. And it's a really big problem. So instead of putting the children to bed and saying, you better sleep tonight, or please sleep tonight, it's, you have a lovely, comfy, snuggly sleep. And sometimes you can say to them, lay there and feel really uncomfortable. You know, if you don't like sleeping on your back, lie on your back until you had enough. And then you curl over to your comfy side and it's, so lovely. You want to go to sleep and you do go to sleep. So it's taking the action of feeling fabulous about going to sleep. And it does help. It changes our moods. As I started with, the sleep deprivation can make us grumpy, not think. It's interesting that research shows that sleep deprivation and driving is almost as bad as drink driving. You're totally impaired driving under the influence of sleep deprivation. And there's an incredible amount of research onto that. In fact, some of the cars of today, Linda, a bit spooky, but you'll be driving along and they'll say, you've been driving X number of hours, it's time to pull over and rest, or your eyes are tired. It's amazing technology, and that's a great help. But we need to take the charge. We need to get into that bed with the love of the sleep, love of being asleep and staying asleep and breathing. And as I say, embracing it if you wake up. And think about, I can do a couple of yoga postures. I can do my beautiful breathing instead of going, I can't sleep, and going with the fight. I call it a fight, an argument with one's own self, whatever. But get into the habit of saying to yourself, tonight is my gorgeous night's sleep. I have X number of hours. The other thing is, don't go to bed when you're really tired. That's a big mistake. We tend to wait till we're very tired. You then are almost hitting the overtired. So you can get into bed and I'm wide awake. It's because you're overtired. So many of us, because of our work time, we eat too late. We just have a little snack with the cuppa at 9, 10 o'clock. No, we should have our intake well before then. Because the system is digesting, of course, and as it's digesting, we're saying, excuse me, I want to sleep. It's got a job to do too. It's better to do it while you're awake and sitting up instead of doing it when you're resting. You know, it's time to rejuvenate.
As really the top thing for today, out of all those amazing tips that you've just given, what would you say to our viewers?
I think some yoga posture is always very good because it just slows you down, takes out the stress of the day. And Linda, that can be as simple as doing a little turn in your chair, right? Just as simple as that. And you'd go both ways. You might want to do some work on the floor, yoga postures on the floor. That's okay. It doesn't matter. It's to separate day preparation for sleep. And if we can do that, we do sleep a lot better. Really, we do. So a little yoga, a little meditation, a little breathing, and most important, don't argue with yourself should you wake up. Just embrace it, love it, and go back to sleep.
Great. Well, that's a wonderful way to end our program. Thank you, Pauline. So for more information on Pauline Rooney and sleep deprivation, then please go to her webpage on our website, healthwellbeingandlifestyle.com.au. And now we'll finish the show and see you next week. If you'd like to know more about our show, please like our Facebook page and also subscribe to our YouTube channel.